Board of Commissioners, regular full board meeting Wednesday, September 27th, 2023, 1:00. Call to order. Pastor Terry Denmark, Assembly God, lead us in prayer, please.
I will, thank you. But before I do, let me read a scripture from the Bible, Book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 1. That everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Father, we invite you to be here in this place. Lord, you've established this body. You've called them to do the work of the people. And so, Lord, I ask now that you would pour out your wisdom from heaven, that they would conduct this business faithfully, thoroughly, with unity and oneness in spirit. Lord, I pray special blessings upon the new coming year and the future commissioners' meetings, that they would be productive, effective, and full of grace. Father, we ask these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Pastor. Rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Entertain a motion to pass, adopt the agenda without any corrections, anything to add?
I'll make that motion.
Nothing to add. Anybody? Got a motion by Commissioner Malone, support?
I'll support it.
By Commissioner Francisco. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sign. Carried. Public comment. We have a 3-minute public comment. You come to the podium, state your name and your address. Go ahead. Go ahead.
My name is Edward Patton, go by Ed. I live in Long Rapids Road in the Maple Ridge Township area. I originally came here to discuss or find out what I could do about the situation at the animal shelter. However, I was informed earlier that there's another meeting I can attend to hopefully solve the issues going on there. So I decided to talk about another issue. I'm wondering what measures and steps the county is taking to make it easier for individuals to move around in the county courthouse across the street. I was pulled for jury duty and I'm a disabled veteran, and those steps were murder for me, so I can't serve on jury duty unless, it's held over here. So I'm asking, has the county given that any thought? You got restrooms that I can't use because they're for employees only, so I'd have to go upstairs to use the restroom. Any business that needs to be conducted downstairs in the basement or upstairs, I can't utilize because I have to use a walker. And going upstairs with my condition, I'd make it up the first flight, and somebody would have to carry me up. So I'd like to know if there's any measures or anything that the county is looking to doing to make it more accessible for handicapped individuals. I have a few ideas, but everybody keeps telling me there's a grandfather clause. Well, I am a grandfather myself, but I don't understand why you can't make they can't make this building more accessible for the handicap and the elderly that can no longer go up and down stairs. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Anybody online raising their hand? Not, we'll close public comment. Move on to consent calendar. Need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Malone, support.
I just have,
We'll pull it if you got some. Support by Commissioner Kozlowski. Discussion.
just a question on FCSPC number one. And then they see that the real estate property appraisal was on the consent calendar as well. And I just had a couple questions on that.
Let's go ahead and talk.
So on the, and I know we brought this up, I was actually at the facility meeting the other day when they discussed it, and I had asked Lynn for the most current copy of the Kena rank management contract. And when I looked at it, because we've had these discussions, Bill, before, and it was brought up where on the contract, it said 6,500 was the amount that we would pay up to 6,500 reimburse. And I know we've discussed that at previous meetings, that if we were going to make the modification, it would change. So I didn't see that on the most current one. So if there's anything above the 6,500, in my mind, we're still not going to pay, we shouldn't be paying anything above that until the contract is changed. That's all I had on that. I think it was Appendix B.
Yeah, that was the one we worked on.
It was, and I apologize, and I can see if I can go back and pull it. But when they submitted their first quarter reimbursement, I think they subtracted out the 6,500. So I think they have met their $6,500 obligation,
No,
but
it
I would
wasn't.
have to go check
It
again.
wasn't, it was, I think if you read it, I'd have to go pull it again, but from the way I read it, it says we would pay no more than the 6,500. So they pay the first 6,000 and we wouldn't pay anything above an additional 6,500.
Okay.
It's at the bottom of the page.
That,
We can, like I said, I brought it up only because of the fact that this was on the consent calendar. And if it is going to be corrected, we just need to get it corrected or changed.
I can bring that back to facilities and look at that next week, right? If the wording's right on it.
Okay.
The other one, John?
The real estate, so on that, and I know it was on the consent calendar, but I guess one of the questions, so let me just see here. How did we pay? I don't remember, was that approved at the facilities or something, or?
Getting the appraisal it was just paid out of professional services. Just putting money in there to cover
And
that.
what was the cost of that?
$800. Is that right? Or
800?
am I remembering that as the sign?
I think,
I've got- That's the sign. Hold on, let me.
Appraisal was,
But there was plenty of money to pay for that, and it was, yes.
I don't believe the appraisal was done.
the appraisal wasn't done.
Oh, wasn't done.
No.
You're right. I apologize because it came back as, no, that's the Boys and Girls Club. That's
Right.
different.
Right.
Ooh, I tell you, man, all these in my head.
the attachment that was part of the real estate property appraisal that was part of the consent calendar wasn't?
So there's two appraisals that we've got going on. One,
Consulting
yep,
report.
was the consulting report in regards to the M32 lots.
Yeah.
But Commissioner Konstoski is correct. You guys did not approve moving forward with the appraisal of the Boys and Girls Club.
Yep.
Because that came in at a much, much higher cost than you had anticipated.
Sorry, I wrote it down incorrectly. It's the real estate consulting report. Did I pay for that?
Yes.
And how much was that? Well, we can move on. I
Okay.
get that from you.
I'm happy to get that to you.
When was that done?
Probably recently, because it looks like there was no leaves in the trees.
Maybe 3 weeks ago.
Oh, the report date is December 13th, so
They probably did their appraisal or whatever before that.
probably early December.
But yes, there was plenty of money in our professional services budget to handle that.
So if there are any other questions? Not, roll call, please.
You have a second to your.
Yep, there was on second.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer.
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone. Yes. Commissioner Fournier. Yes. Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Okay, action item 2, motion to approve the budget adjustment as presented. Is budget adjustments. Yeah, everybody had those in front of them. Need a motion to approve the budget adjustments
Make a motion.
by Commissioner LaHaye, support
I'll support it.
by Commissioner Francisco. Discussion.
So my question is, for approving the budget adjustments, does that include for the budget adjustment for the attorney as well, or do we have to do that separately?
Nope, that includes that.
That is included in there? Okay, thank you.
The only thing that I would have on that, which reminded me, and I had a note for this, would be to get a copy of those contracts for all the, because we're at the, I think it was the last meeting, we had the one contract.
As an example contract,
Yeah,
yes.
so if we could all get a, I don't know if everybody else is interested, but for myself, I'd like a copy of those contracts as well.
My plan was to put them on the shared drive, or I can put them on board book, either one, or do you want them emailed separately?
I don't, me personally, you could email them to me, but if everyone else wants them, I don't.
I saw the boilerplate, if you will, the
Right.
contract. I just like a list of the attorneys that applies to.
Sure. Yes.
I don't need it. However many contracts, so they're all boilerplate.
Okay.
Just list the names, please.
Questions on the budget adjustments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Osmer.
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone. Yes. Commissioner Fournier. Yes. Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye.
Yeah.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Catherine.
So you have in your packet a proposal from RRS as the consulting firm to handle the materials management planning for Alpena County. This is the proposal that we've had discussion in regards to before, that hopefully we would be able to plan with the counties that are listed there on the front page. It's my understanding that IOSCO has already approved working with RRS. The other counties that are listed have the proposal now and will be taking this up for approval shortly. The notice of intent to plan did finally drop. It dropped last week. So we are on the clock. So we now have 90 days to prepare and submit to the state of Michigan a notice of intent to plan.
Is it 90 or 180?
180.
Okay. I think 5 July is the.
Yes.
Is the date.
July. Sorry, it was going to be 90. They bumped it to 180 because they understood that a lot of people were struggling with this planning process. And even if some of these other counties elect to go with a different planner, we can still jointly plan. It doesn't necessarily mean that we couldn't plan together. It just means that whoever one of these other counties hires would have to coordinate with the planning group that we hire. I did reach out to NEMCOG for a proposal, and I don't have anything from them as far as a proposal. I did talk with one of their planners, and if they said that those numbers would be forthcoming, but I don't have anything from them at this point. So the proposal that you have in front of you is for RRS.
You were at NEMCOG
I was.
and
And I spoke to Nico, and he did announce the same thing that Mary Catherine just indicated. And he also said, the check was in the mail. I use that as a metaphor. Still waiting on their proposal. Nico is aware of RRS, and he is also aware of the authority that we have. The Northeast Michigan Materials Management Authority is also, contracted with RRS, and thought that would be a pretty good fit. Although he works for NEMCOG, so he was hesitant at that point to indicate exactly when that proposal would be out. I did send this RRS proposal to the other two counties of the part of to Montmorency and Oscoda. I sent it to Connie at the authority. And I also sent it to John Chapa, the board chair of Presqu'île. He has not responded back to indicate what Presqu'île wants to do. That's all I can tell you right now.
You talked to Alcona too.
I did. I talked to Dave Yox as a Board of Commissioners of Alcona County, and he said that they were going to be discussing it as well at Alcona. So I mean, the holidays, unfortunately, everybody's a little bit behind, if you will. But yes, I did talk to Alcona. Just have not received any any feedback at all at this time.
And part of this proposal, if you read it, is to help coordinate and work with the other counties to help bring them together for a joint plan, a regional plan.
And at the NEMCOG meeting, they did recognize, the members of NEMCOG did recognize that Alpena was, Nico specifically mentioned Alpena being out front, if you will, in the planning process for materials management. And just kind of hinted that it would be to everyone's benefit because Alpena is far enough ahead of the other counties in Northeast Michigan to maybe be a part of our cooperative planning effort.
One quick question. I'm so sorry, and maybe I'm misunderstanding. You said 90 and then Commissioner Francisco said
It's 180 days.
but it says 120 in the document. So I just want to make sure it was 180 and not 120.
Right, and I got this proposal from RRS before they.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Official letter, yes, so they will have to adjust that in their document.
The clock actually starts in January, even though the notice of intent came out. And the suspense date is 5 July.
Thank you.
Any feelings on it?
My feeling is that since RRS is the consulting firm that is working directly with the authority, the NMMA, to develop and to build the recycling facility, their plan is a multifaceted approach. I think they would be a hand in gloves planning and a cooperative effort with RRS. And again, NEMCOG will do it, but they just haven't stepped up enough yet to provide a proposal to us to be able to act on. I mean, we could delay, yes, but I don't think that would be advantageous, just my opinion.
I mean, one of the things I do like about RRS's proposal is, one, it's scalable, but also, if we are able to plan with some of our surrounding counties, the economies of scale are such that they have put into this proposal the ability to then use some of the dollars that aren't needed for planning into implementation. So particularly for some of the counties surrounding us, money that they would then be able to use to purchase bins, to start paying for transportation for us to pick up stuff. And obviously the more seed stock that comes through the Alpena MRF, the better off the Alpena MRF is and the more successful the long-term recycling endeavor is. And since there are requirements as part of the MMP plan for counties to hit as far as recycled materials, it would be good to get a jump on the implementation piece of it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the RRS proposal for materials management planning for Alpena County and to continue. Well, I'll leave it at that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lalone. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lalone? Yes. Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer? And Commissioner Peterson?
Yes. Okay. There you go, Mayor Catherine. Action and report recommendation to approve advised county credit card policy.
Yes, so you have in front of you revised credit card policy language. This is partially a revision having to do with some requirements from the credit union, which is the institution through which we have our current credit cards for the county. So this is a task that I I drafted it. I had the draft. I actually shared it with the treasurer for her input and then honestly completely forgot. So now it is back to you guys for review and approval. One of the attachment is a list of departments and department heads who would then be assigned cards and the limits. It still keeps the limit well under what we would be required to keep the outstanding credit limit under for the county. The difference, for those of you who might not recall the discussion, is that currently we have credit cards that are issued to the county of Alpena. And that will no longer be the way for the credit union would like to handle those credit card accounts. They would like them to be issued to specific people rather than to the county generally. That like require. So.
Would entertain a motion to revise that credit card policy. Discussion.
Make a motion.
Make a motion by Commissioner Malone, supported by Commissioner LaHaye. Discussion.
Just noticed one correction that needs to be done on page 1, towards the bottom of the page. It was just an error, and I'm assuming it was in official. It's highlighted in red.
All right, one little typo there.
Oh, yes. Okay. An official or employee. Okay.
So in the interim of no administrator, you own this project, do you, Kim?
Do I own this
I
project?
mean, you're kind of deal with the credit
It's
card.
been handled through the commissioner's office,
I thought so, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so the commissioner's office, I mean, our staff can continue to,
Gotcha.
sure.
So there'll be a lot that has to be done. I know that Mary Catherine had wanted to reach out and have a phone conversation with people we work with at the credit union, so I wasn't privy to that information. So it's the email that I have last states that they need a specific name, not a position, and they need minutes that state each visa suffix and who will be addressing them. So it would definitely help move forward with trying to get this straightened out to how they want the documentation they want. If they'll accept just this list, because this list doesn't say who each individual is. So we may be coming back to you to address those issues.
Well, this list, I say this, the one I'm looking at, it's just the terminology.
There's an
There's another-
attachment
Yeah,
of-
there's 3 attachments.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
okay.
And I, yes, I wanted to make sure that we had all of the appropriate offices and departments listed with their credit limits. And then, yes, it might be that we need to come back with that names attached to that, but for general policy purposes, these are the offices and departments that are authorized to have a card, and then you can go back and name the person as part of that policy. But I wanted to make sure that this was acceptable.
And we use Wolverine, don't we, for our credit cards?
It's actually Alpena, Alcona.
So, gonna. Is there a charge every time we have to get new? That's why I'm wondering if every time we have to get a new card, like if somebody changes a position or something like that, if there's a charge for that.
We were having a problem where we were having a lot of questionable charges and having to have cards canceled quite regularly here about 6 months ago. And that was when the credit union come forward and said, no, you have to have person-specific cards. So we had to have enough cards canceled that there was, we were gonna start having a charge. But
Okay.
normally there is not.
Right.
That was preemie.
So, right. So no, normally if we have a change in job, for instance, if I had a cred card that said Mary Catherine Hannah, on it, I needed to turn that in and you needed to get a new one. Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fournier? Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Action item number 4, recommendation to approve the revised number 5. Recommendation to approve new policy for airport liability insurance with LP agency for 3-year policy billed annually at $3,769. Presented with monies to be paid out of airport liability insurance line item 295-595-803.00. Budget, we had budgeted $11,080 for the 2024 budget.
So you do have both proposals in your packet. Lappin, which is now Assured Partners, has had our airport liability policy for the last number of years. Based on the amount of time that we've had that policy and also the new coverages that were needed at the airport, it was time to rebid. So I asked both Sterling and Alpena Agency for bids for the airport liability policy. And the Alpena Agency policy came in significantly less than the renewal of the policy through Lappin. And I did have an extensive conversation with Steve Wilson to make sure that that we weren't missing anything, right? When a premium comes in that much under, like, have we gone over this with a fine tooth comb and made sure that we have everything covered? And yes, we have. And not only is it a lower overall premium, but the new policy through the Alpena Agency will actually allow us to cancel. We had to carry, under the old policy, we had to carry a separate airport auto policy with auto owners insurance because the old policy wouldn't cover vehicles when they were on the runway. So if we had to send a truck out on the runway for some reason to pick something up, to check something, they would not cover those. So we had to carry a separate policy, whereas this policy will cover those vehicles when they are on the runway. So we can also cancel that policy, which is about another $1,000 savings, $951.62 to be exact. So we can cancel that policy as well if we go with the Alpena Agency policy.
We make a motion that we go with that policy.
I'll support.
Got a motion by Commissioner Osmer, support by Commissioner Lone to go with the LP agency policy. Any more discussion?
Just a clarifying question. So the Alpena insurance, the Alpena Agency is about 30% the cost of the other. That's accurate, and we're comparing apples to apples.
We absolutely, believe me, Steve even asked for an extra couple of weeks to go back over the policies because it made him nervous as well. When you see a policy that much less, yes, he had a copy of our other policy. He went through and made sure all the coverages were the same, and he feels very confident that this policy covers everything that the old policy did.
Then I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. So is there a separate policy now to go along with the fueling?
Nope, it is all covered under this policy, and we also get additional coverage through AvFuel as part of our contract with AvFuel.
Okay. So I don't see anything in here about contamination. Is that covered? So they're well aware that we're going to be fueling?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Had a discussion with that, made sure they had all the information about the new trucks that we're leasing, the tanks, they have all of that information. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the trucks will be included with this until we get them.
We have the new trucks, the fueling trucks.
So they're on here as well?
They are.
Okay. I mean, I did see something in here about pollution, but I didn't see anything about any spill or anything like that.
Yeah. And that's part of our coverage through AvFuel as well with the purchase of fuel that we are making through AvFuel. We also get additional coverage with that.
Okay. Great.
Anybody else? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
and Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Action item number 6, recommendation to approve the amended ambulance service agreement as presented.
So this is an item that was discussed at the facility or the Courts and Public Safety meeting and was asked to be added to the full board agenda for further discussion. So as background, the City Fire came forward with some discussion around the existing ambulance service contract, which technically lasts for one more year, so it goes through the end of 2024. There were some unexpected expenses and some increased costs of doing business that they asked to be addressed. There was a discussion about the perhaps simply redoing the contract early, right? So having a new ambulance service agreement that started January 1, 2024 and ran for 6 years. That discussion was tabled with the suggestion that perhaps an amendment to the ambulance service agreement was the better way to go to get us through the end of this calendar year, the end of the original agreement, and also through the renewal of the ambulance, the current ambulance millage, which is up for renewal this year. So what you have in front of you is that proposed amendment to the existing ambulance service agreement, which would just ride on the existing ambulance service agreement and run through the end of 2024.
Everybody's quiet today.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ambulance service agreement amendment as presented.
I'll support.
Got a motion by Commissioner Francisco, support by Commissioner Malone. Discussion. Very
Concerns from you or anything, Rob?
No, the biggest concern, we brought this forward, it came out of discussion with Mary Catherine, just reviewing some of the questions that I had about the contract. Obviously being newly appointed chief about a year ago, had some questions. It sparked that discussion with us. And what she said, we were looking to actually just do a renewal contract, just to do a 6-year contract, and that brought up some concerns. Our biggest concerns is the cost of doing business has increased a lot since COVID, and there's no built-in escalating factors in there for any of it. I believe it says $1 million or $940,000 in there right now. I can tell you that since this contract was drafted, just our wages alone has went up 24%, just to retain people. Because obviously our wages keep going up around us and we're not. So a lot of these things are concerns that I had. One of them in there is the service agreement for our cardiac monitors and our power cots. Currently, we don't have an agreement with the service provider where we bought them from. The manufacturer recommendation is that annually they be inspected. There's a huge liability there. We drop one person because we didn't properly have them maintained. We're on the hook for it, county and city, I would imagine. So a lot of it is more proactive. And again, we're looking to be fiscally responsible, not only with village money, but with the city's money as well. So.
Okay.
And what is,
Wow, a powerful man.
what is 1 mil bringing in now?
What you have in the proposal is 1 mil right now. I got that number from equalization.
Okay, so that's
1.1.
1.112.
Yeah, so that's increasing, from the 940,000, which is currently in place for the current contract. So if you approve this, you will need to do a budget adjustment at the beginning of 24 because you have not budgeted for 24. And that is paid monthly.
Got a motion, we got a second, any more discussion?
So the biggest issue, because this came obviously, like they said, to court and public safety. Originally, we were brought a modified contract back in November with some increases, and the biggest increase, it works out to be $206,000 additionally that we have to pay for this contract. Biggest sticking point that I've had, and I've brought this up several times, and again, my problem with getting past it is we have a 4-year contract. And again, I know it may not have been a good contract, but we entered into a contract. And I think about, if we were a private business and someone entered into a bad contract, would you go back and modify that contract to pay the individual that you had the contract with additional money? And I know it comes out of the ambulance fund. And I know I talked to Rob about the additional costs. And when my original thought was when they brought us this original contract back in May or November, that there was a discussion that if you have additional costs, you can bring those back to us. My thought, what I wasn't expecting was basically copy that original contract put it on an amendment and then give us that amendment back in December. So again, anybody that has dealt with contracts in the past, normally you don't modify that contract early to give the individual on the receiving end additional money. So again, I know all the additional costs, but just can't get past that. It's been bothering me because I feel like if the tables were turned, would the city enter into renegotiate a contract that we did? We provide IT services. If we don't feel the IT services are up to what we need to cover our costs, can we go back to the city and say we want to renegotiate that with the expectation that they're gonna renegotiate those contracts? So again, I get it. I know that there's additional costs. I have no doubt in my mind there's additional costs. But I just can't get past the point that we're gonna modify this contract a year early to do that.
I can get past that because I look at this as we are two local governments, one for city, one for county, and we're all on the same team to provide essential services and support to our constituents, the citizens of the county of Alpena and the city, of course, incorporated within that. And yeah, costs have gone up, and I don't think we should hold that over the head of the city because they have a requirement, or they are providing that service, and costs have gone up, and we need to continue to train and retain our personnel. And that will affect our services if people decide to leave because we are not keeping up. So yeah, the city came to us and asked for this consideration, and that's why I made the motion to support this.
I agree with Commissioner Francisco. I think there's a lot of things that we're missing, not really taking into account the ramifications from COVID, where before it was, gloves and, I mean, did you even have to mask? And now considering how you have to treat patients and the protocols that are in place are massive compared to what they were prior. Nobody could have ever anticipated the speed of the inflation or the large amount that it has jumped in the past 3 years. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I'm in support.
Well, it's not, the biggest chunk of this money is gonna be going to the wages. So it's not, there is some additional costs. I think it was like $2,500 for cost for resupply. And I think the other big one was the $31,000 contract with the striker. So those are the two. The personnel wages and the contract with the striker is the two biggest items.
But if you don't follow the warranty recommendations and there's an accident, then how much is that gonna cost?
Well, and as far as the increase in wages, we had people turning us down for jobs, for paramedic EMT jobs because our wages were too low. So we had to accommodate that.
Sure.
And also just to address the comment regarding contracts. I think if using the IT contract, for example, I certainly can't speak for council, but I would like to think a government to government contract that if there were a substantial costs increase in that contract, that it would be considered. So we would just ask the same.
More discussion?
Just like,
I'm sorry, Brittany, go ahead.
we used to have an ambulance board. I think it worked. Because there was any problems or if they needed anything in their department, they would come to the ambulance board. And then if we had the money, which we did have different items on there that we could give. Yeah, it just worked. But now we don't have an ambulance board. We don't know what's going on. So I think we should go back to having an ambulance board. I do think that we should wait until next year with the situation going on with the contract. Instead of renewing it or not renewing it, but adding on to it. I think we should look through it first, go through it first, see where we stand, see what you need, see what we have in the budget for ambulance. Go forward from there. That's just my thought.
Travis?
So there are a lot of cuts that were made by this board in this is obviously an area where nobody wants to cut. And I agree with everybody that's spoken already. I just will add a comment that when it's time to renew or ask for an additional millage next year, you know, we've cut as much as we could essentially for a one-year budget. And I think that hopefully our taxpayers will see that. But I think you're gonna have to work pretty hard to solicit a new millage. And, you know, maybe with Steve's help, we can put a lot of this stuff out to the public and get some justification because we're gonna need it. You know, nothing is going to go down, fuel and everything, it continues to go up. But we are going to have to ask for more money. So we have to really work hard together to make our taxpayers understand if we want our services to continue. I mean, because right here, right now, it's D-Day moment for this contract. And everybody wants it to pass. We need it to pass. But our taxpayers need to understand that we are going to have to ask for some more. You know, because we don't want a service like this to be cut short. You know, there's just a lot of stuff coming up that's going to be expensive and we have to prep them a little, you know, and everybody knows everything is going crazy in price. But that's my only comment. That's all I have to add, I guess.
Can I respond really quick?
Certainly.
And part of the reason I want to respond is, over the last several years, I think we went through the numbers. 2017 is the last time that we had actually requested the drug box exchange money or the disposable reimbursement, which is 30, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 31.5, 32.5
Together, yeah.
together. So since 2017, we have not requested that money at all. We've left that on the table. The ambulance millage is specifically for ambulance operations, which is what we're using it for. We have never asked for the full mill before. Prior to this, we've always taken less than a full mill. And that's why the request is kind of crucial right now for us going forward. We have no intent of going above that. I don't know that we necessarily need to ask for more than what the renewal is, which the renewal is going to be 1.5 mils, which 1 mil is for ambulance operations and the other 0.5 is for responders, for the 911 radio stuff, that type of stuff. So I don't see us looking for more money going forward, but we are trying to recover. We've weathered the storm very well till now. We haven't keep coming to the well, if you will.
Sure.
So we tried to be fiscally responsible with the money. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to get the ship back up right again with some of the maintenance costs that we have going forward and just include that in the contract. I think the next contract, we're gonna have to include that as part of it going forward so that we know exactly all the. Which right now we don't. If we want that expense, it's all burdened on the city for that 31,000. So we're trying to be good risk managers in this as well. Make sure they are providing the service we have, and it's excellence in the service that we do provide. So we're not gonna see a reduction in the service that we provide. Again, it try and take some of the burden off the increase of expenses that we have. And that's what the amendment is for.
Right, and right now, you know, that everything comes from the city budget. That isn't accounted for as far as the cost for providing the service, because, you know, we don't want to use city general funds to supplement a service that is paid for by the Alpena County Ambulance Fund.
Sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
I just have one
Yeah, go
quick
ahead.
question, Chief. When you said like the different kits and stuff that you guys weren't requesting money for that, is it because there were federal grants coming to cover that cost? How was that being
I
supplemented?
cannot answer that because I don't know the answer for it. I just know that since I took over as chief, we saw that was money that the city should have been receiving, and which is a substantial amount since 2017 that we weren't requesting to offset. There was no grant money that's.
Nothing was covered.
Our ambulance billing is very rigid, and very strict, so
Okay.
when we charge for the transports, we can't charge for anything that we use or that the first responders use.
Okay.
And we do have that one-to-one exchange program still with them, so.
Okay, I just didn't know, you know, a lot of COVID dollars are coming into lots of different places during that time, so I was just curious. Thank you.
I'll just add to, for a lot of us, this is our first year as well.
Sure.
And I'm extremely ignorant to all this grant stuff, as you probably are as well. I would just, maybe if I were you, reach out to Lenny. You know, he's on our team too. see if there's anything out there that he can pull out of the bushes that might help.
He's looking for stuff for us as well, everything
Good.
from a fire truck right on down to everything.
Awesome,
We've got
great.
some big ticket items that we're trying to finance. None of it is involved really in the ambulance side of it, so.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
Any more discussion? Now I got a recommendation to approve the amended ambulance service agreement. Motion was made by
Me.
Bert and supported by Brenda, but
Commissioner Lalo.
Commissioner alone, however. Miss alone,
Miss Lalone.
yeah. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
No.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
No,
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Let's go, thanks. Okay, reports of special or ad hoc committees, facilities. Travis.
I was hoping that Jeremy would be here with us today. Just a bit of a topic was in regards to the ice that John had mentioned earlier. That was kind of a hot topic. I felt a little bit better as Jeremy was speaking into the meeting a little bit more. It's like the improvements that he made with that money that was spent is going to be offset in relatively short order on his electric bill. So that should help his funding a little bit with that. Other than that, nothing major. We're getting some things fixed at the Fair Board House. There was some discussion, obviously, about the fairgrounds. I think maybe things got misstrued a little bit. I mentioned the way that I feel, and I don't think that anybody, we're not jumping into anything with doing anything new with the fairgrounds or that property. It's obviously been talked about a lot in the community for 10 or 15 years or more. I guess I just want to be clear that, there's nothing on our plate that says we're going to put a big for sale sign up anytime soon or anything like that. Really outside of that, I will mention that the fencing that the Fair Board has put up looks really nice. I noticed that the other day. I think that's it with facilities for me.
Commissioner Konashevsky, what was getting fixed? Which fair building?
The caretaker's house.
The caretaker's house? Oh, was that wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Walls and,
I'm just playing a little catch up with the fair board.
yep, some roof repairs. So, just a lot of repairs there. They completed a lot of repairs to the merchants building. And they were gonna wrap up some repairs with the animal facility as well, hopefully, before the end of the year.
Reports of public safety, John.
We don't need to rehash this. The biggest thing is the contract as we talked about. So moving forward, well, two big things. We have to work on the millage going forward. So we have something probably in the May timeframe. We had to think of rough draft, if you will, of a millage proposal. I think it was in November. Was it the November meeting?
Yes, and I have sent that out for attorney review as was requested. I told them there wasn't a huge rush on it though, so I don't have any comments back yet.
And then again, so we'll have to rework the contract coming up for 2025. And I think one of the, just so everyone knows, well, the millage, that change, the change will be, we're going to go from 4 years to 6 years. So that's one of the biggest changes with the proposed millage for the ambulance. And one of the reasons for that was just for the fact that one of the things that we're going to do is that Robert mentioned is go from 2 ambulances in the 4-year contract to 2 ambulances in the 6-year contract, just for the fact that the cost of an ambulance has gone up quite a bit. So that's the main thing. So we'll be working early to get that, both the millage and probably the contract renewed, so we have something by the end of the year. That's it.
Good question, John. Personnel,
Just
go ahead.
Just for information purposes, if you're planning on putting that millage on in May and you're the only, that millage is the only thing on the ballot, the ambulance fund will be responsible for 100% of that entire election, which could be $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000.
So if that happens, I'd say we push it, because I think we.
I'm just letting you know, I didn't know if you guys were aware of that, that you would have, the ambulance fund would have to pay 100% of the entire election if you're the only thing that's on the actual ballot.
I think we could push it off to the August time.
Yeah. And then there wouldn't be any cost because there's plenty of other stuff on that one, but.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah. And the school is doing a millage, they're putting a millage out
February.
in February.
Hey, personnel, Jesse.
So actually, the actual personnel committee meeting we already covered last meeting. This is a special one, so I'm gonna actually, which I did not make, so I'll let somebody else speak to that was there. And then just subsequently, to save time, Target and Hunt did not meet this month, and Thunder Bay Marine Sanctuary only had a volunteer dinner, so there was no meeting there either. So I have nothing to report for my entire life.
Don't have the agenda.
So unfair.
Okay.
So since I filled in for Jesse, I'll just, the main discussion obviously was Mary Catherine's departure. We agreed as a group to, let her move on a little bit sooner than planned. She's agreed to help us with that transition. And again, I'll just reiterate, on behalf of the board and myself, we certainly wish you luck and hope everything goes great and hopefully we can find a good individual to fill your position. That's all that I really had for that.
Big Brenda DH.
I got this. So, for the DHD number 4, health board, they just covered a couple of things. I think it's important to note exactly some options that the health department is responsible for. That's an option for people. They have lots of family planning services, birth control, pregnancy testing, HIV, STD, annual exams, free condoms, reproductive services. There's WIC, things for new mothers. There's insurance, through the state. If you can't afford insurance on your own or don't get it from an employer. There was a pertussis outbreak in a daycare. They stayed right on top of it. It ended up not spreading out of the daycare. So that was a positive thing. Just went through about 3 or 4 kids. They recently did some universal screening for lead for school children. That was very successful. There was a flock of birds in Montmorency County that came up with the avian flu. I thought this was sad, but I guess needed. Birds were euthanized and the family is being monitored. Families are not showing any symptoms or anything like that, or anybody that they've been in contact with. So that was also a positive outcome as far as that goes. A reminder to people that there's definitely a high uptick right now with COVID, flu, and RSV. Please take precautions, please wash your hands, don't kiss babies, that sort of thing. They had to remove from their website some of the programs that they normally provide. They have an empty position for a nurse practitioner. So if you know of any nurse practitioners that are looking for a position, the health department is definitely hot looking because they obviously want to be able to provide everything they're supposed to. The IRS standard millage rate for, mileage, there's no other way to say it, has gone up from 65.5 to 67 cents. And their Atlanta open house was very successful and it's very nice.
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome. That was very thorough.
Parks and Recreation, Commissioner Leahy.
The parks are all pretty well closed up. The hosts are trying to get trained a new camp spot reservation system. And Long Lake Park, the job that's finished there is pretty well finished. They transferred $50,000 over to cover the expense on the contract. And the Sunken Lake Park residence furnace was repaired. It's gonna need to be replaced in the future, but they're gonna try to get through the winter with that. They sent out for the quotes for the grant that they got. So they get requests for proposals on what they want to do there at Sunken Lake Park. So other than that, they're pretty well closed up and they're just getting ready for spring.
Thanks, Bill. Well, I'll give a little bit, Burke gives some on it. Injection well has been completed. We're just waiting for some software updates, and they will probably do a little test here next week. It's Thursday, tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow they're gonna do a test on it. And they hope to start the first week of January injecting leachate into the ground. Anything else?
So the only thing to add is that, which I've already reported, is that the RRS proposal has been sent to the other MOA board members through the landfill authority.
Questions on that? Planning Commission, Bill.
There's not, the last meeting I went to was at Osneek Township Hall. There hasn't been any meeting since then, but there's a meeting this week. They're gonna go over the rec.
Next week, Wednesday, next the 3rd. Yep, it's a special meeting to approve the rec plan.
Northern Michigan Regional Entity, Mr. Francisco.
I've already, last meeting was 6 November. I provided that report. The next meeting is 8 January.
Okay. The sodium, Mr. Malone.
So went for a tour of the Cook Dam. It's very interesting. It's kind of a hot topic right now. Which that's the whole purpose of us, branching out into these committees. And I'm sorry, I was actually looking, I took a ton of pictures and I printed them out and I was gonna pass them around, but of course I can't seem to find them in that, in my disaster bag. It swallowed them. These dams have been around for 100 years. Consumer Energy runs them. They're in need of many repairs, as you can imagine. There is some argument over who's responsible for that. So I did enjoy watching that go back and forth. And there's lots of discussion on whether they could run the dams higher and pull more power from the dams, run them stronger. But then, of course, Consumer Energy is kind of on the other side of that fence, saying that with the age of the system, you don't really want to do that because then you're going to start having more things break. And so it was interesting how many dams are in the state. Consumer Energy runs all of them except for one. I believe it was 17, but don't hold me to that. I can't find my papers with all my cute notes. So I'm just winging it off my memory, but they take safety very, very serious there, which it was impressive. And watching that run was impressive as well. I highly suggest taking a dam tour if you have that opportunity. It was very cool.
Especially when we got 3 of them
Yeah,
right here.
right? Steve, and they love having visitors and they love talking about and they love getting tours. So just little safety glasses and a little hard hat and off you go.
Hey, Nemcock,
So-
Mr. Francisco.
Okay, 5 items from NEMCOG. We met on the 21st of December. First of all, item of interest, state of Michigan passed the legislation for the state to have authority over solar, wind and battery completion. Any projects, local ordinances can have an effect. I don't have all the details, but if you're interested, it's online. And, but basically the state passed a legislation that the state has the authority for solar, wind and battery locations. Let's see, I've already talked about MMP. We already covered that. Just the item of interest, Hillman and Habitat for Humanity. City of Hillman has contracted with Habitat for Humanity to allow Habitat to build 50 to 55 homes on 19.5 acres that they've designated. So something that's Hillman is moving forward. Thought that was kind of interesting. Also, City of Gaylord reported that Amazon is going to be building a regional distribution center in their industrial park area sometime in the very near future. Thought that was kind of interesting. And lastly, there's some water legislation, hasn't been passed, but it's being considered in both the State House and Senate. It's low-income water residential affordability program, but essentially it's where it will add $2 per month to to residential water bills to build up this fund so that, and there's a number of stipulations. Our water can't be shut off to help the low income folks to afford their water, and there's 4 or 5 different ones, but that is online right now. For information. That's all I got right now.
No other Michigan counties. Mr. Konashevsky.
I was actually out of town for that meeting and the community corrections.
Okay. MSCA, Commissioner Lolo.
So the only meeting was me personally attending a special meeting and providing feedback on the executor. She passed with flying colors. She's very impressive. If you ever get a chance to meet Lisa, she's very, very special person. I gave my fill out and then I did training on how to be on a board for 2 hours.
Here, Commissioner Kozlowski.
So I'm gonna pull one out of the book of Jesse. So
Oh,
there's no meeting until January 11th for DARE, and I have nothing to update on United Way.
Okay. Thunder Bay Transportation.
Their last meeting again was during one of our meetings here as well, so was not there for that.
they did move, here's a little nugget, but they forgot to send this out. They did move and we're gonna add another meeting and then they canceled it for the December. So it was kind of like a back and forth sort of thing and then they canceled it too. So it was like, okay, no meeting.
Central Dispatch, Commissioner Francisco.
No meeting since the last time we met, but our next meeting is January 3rd. Right, Kim?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, January 3rd is our
And
organization.
MMA.
And triple MA. Yes, so things are moving along. They are looking at doing some scale backs over the winter to preserve on costs of operation, but also it's the slow time of year for that facility. Continuing to work on both glass recycling and tire recycling, which are both moving forward, which is very exciting. And they are reviewing the last piece of funding that is necessary for the MRF to move forward, which is a line of credit through a group that specifically funds recycling operations nationwide. They're reviewing the term sheet on that to see if that's something that they want to take on, but that would be for the last little bit of funding necessary in order to make sure that they can start construction. Exactly.
Veteran Affairs.
We had a meeting last week and the assistant director there is retiring at the end of the year. So we hired a new director. We had 10 applicants and 1 no-show. And we ended up, there was several that were good applicants, but we picked Kevin Morgan, who is a corrections officer at the sheriff's department. So we're taking that away from the sheriff, but he said it was okay.
Felix Mann.
Looks bad.
Can't keep them back.
Okay, Fair Board.
So I was out of town for the Fair Board meeting last month as well, but I see that Courtney is here. Would you care to join us, give us an update? Stuff going on with the Fair Board?
Yes, please.
Sorry to drop that on you with no warning.
So I'm Courtney Krantz. I'm the president of the Fair Board. Just a little recap. Obviously, 2023 fair is over, but it was very, very successful. One of the best that we've had. Moving forward, we're always looking for ways to improve the fairgrounds, obviously, both by its appearance and by the events that it holds, not only during the fair, we would also, with the county's help, like to provide other events for the community with that fairgrounds to be able to utilize it more than just 1 week of the year. So, is there any questions?
Where's the new fencing that went up?
So we placed new fencing along the backside of the grandstand area. We always used to put like a snow fence up just because of our liquor license that's required. We thought that the permanent fence would look a lot nicer, so.
Nice.
Those look nice.
Would you mind hanging out after and you can catch me up to speed on a couple things? Thanks.
And I just want to personally apologize to you. I am quite busy in the summer and I did not make nearly as many of your meetings as I would like to. moving forward next year, it sounds like Commissioner Malone is going to be working with you guys a little bit more. But I did want to let you know that if there is anything that I can do to help you guys out, I most certainly would. And again, I apologize for my lack of presence with your group. It's not for any other reason than I was just extremely busy.
Great,
So,
no problem.
yep, thank you for everything.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Road Commission. Bill.
Road commission, it's, everything's going pretty well. Most of the maintenance is just normal maintenance on the federal roads and on the county roads. They authorized to sign a contract with MDOT for the Bagley Street mill overlay, and they set a public hearing for the budget on December 29th. They took delivery of a motor grader that they ordered at 11/22, and they just took delivery of it. And it was $397,000 and $926. And they took delivery of that. They did some repairs on their trucks. And the total cash funds at the end of November was $2,795,826.84. Everything seems to be going well there.
Any questions? Okay, we've got some special orders, unfinished business, general orders. Commissioner Osborne.
Yeah, so the personnel committee, when we originally met, beginning of the month, excuse me, we had two corrections that we had to make. One of them was a Scrivener's error. It was basically just changing the date. We accidentally shorted them 1 year on their appointments, so it's just to correct that. On the second one, there's just miscommunication on the intent of the board versus what was conveyed to the individual. That's been corrected since. And that was simply that we had an individual resign rather than that being a new 6-year appointment or 5-year appointment, rather. It was only supposed to be to the end of the following year to complete that partial term. So I'm just asking for the board to accept those two corrections. And again, this has all been conveyed already. It was just, the one was a simple error and the other one was already conveyed to the individual.
Okay, we got a couple corrections from personnel, any motions.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Malone, support.
I'll support.
Support by Commissioner Kozlowski. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Correspondence. December 23 MIDC update.
Yep, unless anyone has any questions, just make sure to include that in your packet.
New business approved 2024 Board of Commissioner meeting dates as attached. It's on the back.
There were a couple of dates that needed to be adjusted for holidays, but otherwise we pretty much kept the schedule as this year.
And I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed agenda with any corrections that we need to make on it.
Support.
Motion and support. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we're gonna make a motion to go into closed session.
Just one.
Okay.
Before we go into closed session. So
Okay.
this is probably not typical the way this usually happens in the past since I've been a commissioner. But because I totally believe in transparency, what I wanted to do was at least so everybody knows that I would like to put my name out there for the chair to go into 2024, just so everybody's on the same page. I know in the past I've said we believe in the transparency, and I just wanted that out there so everybody was on the same page.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Closed session, can I need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Malone, support.
Support.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we're going to closed session.
I'm just running this meeting. No, I'm just kidding.